Many of the customs in the assumed Christian tradition are originally European. And by European I mean pagan, as in non-Jewish. One of these customs is the practice that the priests have of wearing robes. A robe is a piece of woman's clothing. So why on earth are they wearing robes? Let's find out. Originally, the European deities were hermaphroditic spirits of nature and in man. They were later anthropomorphized and thus turned into gods or goddesses. However, the tradition of representing them as hermaphroditic remained. Therefore, the male priests had to wear robes, and the female priests, rather the priestesses, had to wear men's clothing on the upper body. This was to represent the hermaphroditic nature of the deities. And this custom remained in Christianity, and therefore the priests wear robes to represent the hermaphroditic nature of the deities. The same applies to nuns and monks, and the tradition of marrying the deity, like the nuns do, is also deeply rooted in the European pagan culture. We know this probably best from the Greek religion, where they had the Maenads and the Bacchantes, and where the Bacchant was a man who impersonated the male deity of Bacchus, and who, by the way, is known in other European cultures by different names. In Scandinavia, he's known as Freyr. In Slavic cultures, as Veles or Veles, and so forth. Anyhow, and the Maenads, they represented the female deity. That would be Aphrodite, or Shiva, or Freya, etc. Venus, of course. And they were married to the deity. And where the custom differs from the modern or more modern Christian version of it is that the girls who married the deity, they were all virgins, and the marriage was only symbolic, so there was no, like a sexual intercourse or anything. And the girls who married the deity were very young. And they remained in service for the deity for about 10 years, and then they would return to normal life. We know this custom from modern society, from the Nepalese custom where they have the Kumari. She's also a representative of the deity, a avatar, a deity incarnate. And after a while, when she starts to bleed, when she has her first menstruation, she is no longer the deity, and another one will replace her. So the custom of marrying the deity was normal, but unlike in the Christian culture, they would not deny life, so to speak. They would not let these poor women remain virgins until their death. They would not let them remain in marriage with the deity until they became so old that they no longer could procreate. And that's where it differs, and that's what makes a difference, because the The pagan European custom was a celebration of life, and the Christian custom, when you added a little bit of gravel to the oil that you poured into the gearbox, so to speak, it ruined the whole gearbox. And therefore the Christian religions, although they are made up of 90% paganism and only 10% Judaism, they are in fact cults of death, where they take these beautiful young women away from society and put them in a monastery where they are denied all opportunity to procreate and to participate in a constructive way for the tribe. And you could say that the Christians, they included the pagan traditions and customs, but they failed to make good use of them. So it turned into a cult of death. Which, by the way, if you want harm to a people, is a very good way to destroy them. You just take their best women for many generations, for thousands of years, and ensure that they don't procreate. So, one might wonder if this was not done intentionally, this misinterpretation and misuse of the pagan customs, because it certainly did not turn to our favor. It was not in our interest that it develop that way. It was, however, in the interests of our enemies. The sacred marriage is known from other parts of our culture too. We have the May Queen, the May King, and this is all the same. It's all rooted in the same. And I write about that in my book called Reflections on European Polytheism and Mythology. All our culture, even today, is rooted in our own culture, but it has, like a gearbox with 90% oil and 10% gravel, been ruined. So we need to open up the gearbox, so to speak, and remove the gravels and fix it and make sure that we pour only oil into the gearbox. Our customs here in Europe are positive for us. They have always been about the cultivation of the good, the honest, the strong, the healthy, and the sane. And the reason why we saw our customs perverted and changed was because we are also very, very gullible. We are naive, we are blue-eyed, and we think that others are like us, but they are not. And when we realize that, and when we put up a proper defense against those who are not as blue-eyed as us, then we will prevail, then we will suffer no more. And we will be able to preserve our culture, and preserve our traditions, and preserve our blood and everything that we hold dear. And if we don't, it will not end well. Bye-bye.